Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant.
My name is Niels Tuller Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent, non-commercial podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. Large industry and EU-funded projects are a particular combination. The EU Commission is eager to get them involved in especially Horizon Europe Pillar 2 projects because of a potential big effect that their participation has on impact of the rolling out of project results post-project. However, from the face of it, large industry rarely needs funding. They can just pay for the research and innovation and choose the partners they want on board, and they don't have to share the results with anybody. However, it is more complex than that, because the kind of network and collaboration partners that EU projects offers is hard to find for them elsewhere, and the content of the research and innovation investigations also offers elements that gives incentives for large industry to join. Getting in contact with a large industry partner and then getting them involved in a proposal process can be difficult. Entries are not obvious, decision processes takes time, and added value for their product strategy is vital for them in order to join a publicly funded project. Large industry is also difficult to get into a podcast, but I managed to get Agnes Zoller, founder and CEO of InnoGrant Advisors, on board, who has just recently been working for a large chemical company with the responsibility to get them involved in EU-funded projects. This episode offers great insights into why EU projects can be important to large industry, what motivates them, what added value it offers them, and, of course not least, how to attract them into your proposal. Please enjoy.
The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. When you develop a podcast like I do from scratch, like this, it's you have some low-hanging fruits to get into a virtual podcast studio like I have, and then you have some apples that are a little further up the tree, and one of these apples, metaphorically speaking, is large industry. Large industry companies are particularly difficult to attract to something like this because this is communication for them, and communication goes through, it's professionalized and industrialized, so to say, in large industry. So you cannot just get someone to step into something like this and talk about strategically important issues like innovation and research and public funding without it being checked and balanced heavily throughout a lot of sections in the chain, so to say. I have approached a large handful through my network, and they are difficult to get the grab on. Now, as everybody has guessed, this is what we're going to talk about today, large industry and EU funding. And I do have a guest that did manage. And before I just continue too much, I think I should welcome my dear guest today, Agnes. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Niels. It's a pleasure to be here today with you.
And likewise. And Agnes, I reached out to you, like always. Regulars know that LinkedIn is my feeding channel into the virtual podcast studio. And I noticed it came in my feed there about the chemical industry and Horizon Europe. And so I thought, oh, what's this? I reached out and you replied positively back that this could be interesting to do. Agnes, can you shortly share a little bit about yourself?
Of course. So yes, I totally agree with you, first of all, on the challenging situation of yours to get someone to talk about why industry wants to go for European funding, or how to get someone to talk about it, or how to engage large industrial partners to collaborate in EU funding. So my background is chemistry, and in the last 12 years, I have been working on European funding. from different angles, from innovation management to product development to commercialization. But the aim was always to for acquisition of public funding for the companies or universities I worked for. And recently, I also launched my own boutique innovation consultancy where I help clients from small to large to accelerate their innovation and business growth, including developing funding and innovation strategies to acquire public funding for them. That's also and happen with grant writing as well, which is apparently a really big pain for someone who is not so experienced, right?
Indeed.
So that's at InnoGrant Advisors. We see that it's a very big pain for small partners because they don't know where to start. Eventually, they have a great idea, or startups even, and they don't know where to start. They don't know what the process is and how to. So this is where we help. Or at large companies that they are maybe too large, or they don't have the right team to make this happen, and then they need some support on how to accelerate or a tailor-made approach, which I can also help with. So, yeah.
I will get very much back to that in a second. But before we reach so far, just shortly, so how many years have you been involved in this EU funding world?
12 years now.
And for how long throughout those 12 years did you work for a large industrial organization?
Oh, in total, probably half, yeah.
Yeah, enough time to get a solid experience on how it works in that.
Indeed, and when even if you are not working within the large organization, but you will need large organizations in a consortium, and then I have built over 35 consortia, so always needed to discuss with the large industrial partners on what and how. So I do believe this counts as well.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So very much indeed, but there's also a big the understanding you get from working with insight. That's something quite important. Do you want to, as mentioned pre-recording here, everybody gets a chance to shameless self-promote whatever organization they work for, and you do have your own consultancy company. Do you want to say a few words about your company?
Yes, of course. It's a very nice company. We are 2 persons in there. I took a partner on board to launch the company, which is called InnoGrant Advisors, KLG. So it's a Swiss-based company that I run, and me and my partner, we have a combined experience in grant writing for national and European funding. So this is what we do, and we help clients to, as I said, accelerate their innovation processes. And if it's funding, then with funding, and if it's a new business model innovation, then it's that. We also can run market intelligence for you, and using our network of innovation platforms to our expert network as well to find the right partners for consortium building support and so on. So yeah, we are very excited.
Classical small 2-person organization there in grants writing and grants consultancy. Yeah, nice. Wish you all the luck, of course, with that business. I'm sure that it's running well. Now, thanks. I have not worked myself for a large industrial corporation in this context, but I've helped a lot. And I have helped a lot. I've helped enough to get an understanding of what how a large industry view EU R&D funding and what motivates them to do it if they are engaging themselves in it. And I also learned how to make them realize it might be a good idea. We'll get back to that. But tell me, in general, what is your own, from your 6 years working, 6-7 years working in large industrial organizations in relation to this, what is your sort of feeling in general about the work with them with this? So what motivates them, and what makes sense? When does it make sense for a large industrial company to approach? these two things, I guess, quintessential, right?
So, as I said, large industrial partners are very interesting, and they are interested in large consortia, even in collaborations. Why is that? They want to get some risk, for example, reduce risk and costs, and for that, funding is a great tool. On the other hand, what I really like, and when I work for large and also others, I like to suggest that it's not only funding and risk and cost reduction a component in the funding, but it's also a huge business development opportunity for them. So when a company, even companies, there are companies that are not so developed in the funding, and then they don't really see the opportunities, then you can always show them that there's an opportunity in business development, like you can spin this technology out, or you can advance this technology with another partner. And once you are in a European collaboration, there are exponential opportunities coming up. So, and then, you can build this further. Either you can build the technology even further or beyond that particular project even. So to me, it was always clear that it's not only funding or not only cost or risk reduction, but also developing the business. And then at the end of the day, or the end of the life, you get even sales, right? Generated from potential collaborations that have been funded by European funding instrument.
The ones I work with, you have the ones where it doesn't matter with the fund, actually. They can pay for this. They could do if they wanted, they could do commercial.
Exactly.
So the funding is not an issue. And what is an issue for them is to get access to a collaboration that they wouldn't be able to get access to if they would do it themselves. So the things that they are pushed to do through strategic calls, for instance, in Pillar 2, they get into a framework that they would never come up with themselves. So what they get back from that investment in doing a public research with other administrative, that's an investment for them, right? To step into other administrative approaches, so they have to invest time
it's a huge
in other
investment.
procedures that they're used to, yeah? So, but they invest that, and to get that back is the access to other kind of partners that, one, can be commercial asset further on, and two, the quality of the research and innovation that they get from that group is something that would be difficult for them to carve out if they would go commercial on it.
I agree with you. So for on the sense that they can go beyond the funding, definitely this is they have to invest a lot of resources and time pre-submission. Yeah. And this is then we are going to the challenges, because almost, but maybe we should not go so quickly there. But this investment they need to invest. But of course, they want to have high quality research done, or collaborations with other partners who are top notch, because only the best ones will get funded, right? The competition is extreme. And once you are in a consortium, and this consortium or this project idea together with the rest of the partners will get funded, then it's already like clearly stating that it's excellent science, right? So that's one thing. And then it's very good point what you just mentioned on that, the quality of the work. And indeed, they could buy the technology as well, but it's a very good opportunity for them to boost their innovation pipeline, in also getting access to partners that they would not get on a baseline, or really getting even academical collaborations like an open innovation or earlier stage research that they could implement in their processes. So that's access to new technologies is definitely something very interesting as well.
Yeah. And then I know, and that's a fact, because I know from P&O we had some people working in a team approaching with more strategic than just writing proposals for big corporations. Doing intelligence work and so on, research intelligence. There, they large industrial corporations with a huge innovation and research department attached to their the work they do. They know the commercial innovation. very well, because they have to, because of patents, because of competitors and so on. So they know extremely well where things are moving, where they need to be heads up on the commercial research, but they don't have an overview of the public research and publicly funded research. They might have an idea of which universities are top notch within their field, but they don't have a in-depth understanding of what's going on in this part of the research and innovation world, investigating into specific research areas. And that quality they will also get with them, because you need to do this carve out when you do the proposal. So they already from the proposal process, they will get a view into something that they don't. Or also, if in the first part of a project, often you have the investigation part of the value chain of the project, where they get knowledge that is difficult for them to, or they don't know how to approach it from their point of view. I wanted to say that you also have an interesting element, some big companies, when they're very big, because that's the other side. So you have the ones where funding doesn't matter. That's the most of them. But you do have some large organizations. I work with Siemens Wind Power, for instance, because they're so big, it turns into almost like a public administration, right? Like a public sort of bureaucracy like this. And they were fighting over resources internally. So I would help one of the departments there to get access to more resources to get their innovation on offshore wind related technologies. They could mark up their activities by accessing public funding. I just seen this once, but I asked a couple of times other large industry partners that are attached, and they confirmed that it can sometimes be an issue where it helps them in the departments where they sit. But I don't know if this is something that you have experienced.
You mean that they are low on resources, and then they are maybe underestimating
that they internally in the company have a division of resources, and where they sort of have a strategic, say, we want to put a lot of resources into this part, and then having another section of the department working with some other innovation where they are stripping them a little bit of resources. You understand?
Yeah, but it's a matrix organization. I think it should be pretty clear that there is a strategy, an overall strategy, and that the strategy, they need to get aligned on what they want to do. It's of course a challenge. I mean, I got your point, and indeed there must be resources allocated to proposal writing or partnering, or who will cover what do they want to do on research and innovation. Is it coming from the technical side? Because I think the core is always the technical. Where are we standing right now? What do we want to achieve with that technology, and what is our goal, right? So where are we heading at? Then it's from R&D. And then on the other hand, on the business or the commercial side, they also have their innovation strategies, and this should be aligned. So I always say that innovation comes always between R&D to commercialization. How can we bridge that gap, and how can we make it shorter, that your technological advancement that you had already invested in, or how do you spend your R&D expenditures, how do you spend that it will be in the end the return on investment, or when can you generate sales. So I think this is the overall business strategy will define what you do with the R&D and how you do the innovation strategy. So for that, I think it is in a matrix. It is can be challenging sometimes that maybe this group A will not talk to group B, or they don't really have the eventually a clear communication structure, or they are not aligned on what should be done and who wants what. And then what you mentioned, I feel that you refer to the silos that can also happen in large organization is definitely a case. There are silos, and to me in innovation, it is very important that we are open up to conversations between our peers and other labs within the company, and also with the marketing and the business and the commercial people, discuss on what makes sense, right? Because that it's of course easy to throw in a lot of money into R&D, but in the end, if it only makes sense if there is something at the end of the day coming out of it, right? Either a new product and we can generate sales. And this is how innovation or funding also can come. That funding can help you make that technology advancement quicker, finding the right partners who you also enjoy work with, and you find the ones who are also as professional, at least as professional as you are. And this is how you build winning teams. So I built really, as I said, over 35 large interdisciplinary consortia. And sometimes you have to be really very selective, and eventually some people or some teams will drop out because of not the right match, because you really need to be very, very strict on who to take on board and who to work with. And then this collaboration or this kind of work already like defines who are your favorite collaborators, basically. And it's always easier. So why would you go against the good energies if that is a winning team already? So this is what I can add here.
Thanks. Let's have a talk about what motivated the company you work for when we connected, right? Just to get an idea, because that's the most recent experience you had, and it was a chemical company. Can you tell us a little bit about the company and of course without sharing things that you're not supposed to share from there, so, but innovation strategy and R&D challenge and so on. Can you open up the case a little bit to make this concrete?
Well, there are different cases in each of the companies I worked for. They're both chemicals, and one specialty chemicals, and the other ones is more commodity business. And definitely in the commodity side, for example, it's very important that you are getting innovations done, that you need to diversify your business. And then if you are not developing new products, then you want to access to new technologies that would help to solve your challenges. Like, for example, a big challenge is climate, net zero, carbon neutrality, and you need technologies that are basically carbon negative. So how do you do that? You don't have the time to develop something new from scratch right now within XYZ number of years. So European funding is, again, a great tool to find the right partners who are already working on that for years. And then eventually you could very quickly implement those technologies to reach your ESG goals, right? So that is job motivation, definitely, then when you look for partners.
The strategic calls from the framework program, is that a motivation for companies like this because they are ambitious?
Well,
sort of meeting, is that something that motivates them to say, okay, there's actually a task here that we need to solve, and it's a little bit more than we actually thought we would do? Is there something like this also?
But that depends. So, for example, the Thai company I worked for, right, there was definitely an interest in doing more in Europe, to get the access to those technologies and to import those technologies to solve the challenges, what you cannot solve in-house. And basically following the megatrends, yeah. But this is, I think, worse for all kind of large corporations and companies that you want to minimize risk and cost and achieve your goals, what you want for net zero and the climate, right? It's basically following the megatrends. Everyone runs for the same right now. And the Commission supports very nicely or these kind of initiatives. That's why they are set, right? So I think it's very important that we understand what the European funding schemes are, and then what the agency's strategies are overall. And then if this is aligned with the company strategy, then it's a good match. And then you can start thinking about potential funding opportunities and if this is a good idea for them to go and do some public research.
The chemical sector is highly energy intensive, right?
That's right.
I guess you have the energy side of it, and then you have the products the chemicals themselves.
Yes, and then you have CO2, then you have CO2 capture, then you have footprint, then you have CO2 capture and utilization, and then you want to turn it back to chemicals or to products. Then you have recyclability, then you want to be circular. So all this goes to this direction. If it's funding or it's acquisition of M&A, right, or investments through funds. The aim is to get to the technologies that will solve the challenges that the company, a particular company, for example, cannot solve in house.
Well, what I want to say with that, the nature of chemical industry and the challenges that the broad bouquet of challenges that they are are looking at, it is a highly important sector for the European Commission and the targets of a greener world to live in, right? Because they are one of the most this is one of the industries where you really want to see circularity, you want to see sustainability, energy efficiency, and so on. If you can deal with that, we came a long way.
But there is also steel and minerals and the cement industry. They are even worse in the energy intensive parameter. So indeed, for example, the formerly called SPIRE, that it's processes for planet public-private partnership, is absolutely tailored to resource efficiency and to process intensification, right? To help in that sense. So I could recommend also for anyone who is large industrial partner to have a look at that and then and see if there is something suitable for them in there.
So if we just think again of the last company you worked for, the innovation strategy, did they address everything you just mentioned in their focus on where to move on? Let's say in the next 5 years, we have this and this and this area where we have a target of bringing down CO2 or being this and this more energy efficient. Was it everything you just mentioned there, or did they focus on a set of challenges to deal with that?
You need to prioritize. So especially right after COVID, chemical industry from Southeast Asia has different type of challenges. So obviously in the strategy that was prioritized on what to tackle first. But overall is, as I said, following the mega trends, tackle all these aspects on circularity, on net zero, climate, plastic recycling, ocean cleanup, for example, and these global alliances, also participating in global alliances to clean up the planet and to contribute to all this. So overall, yes, basically all of the aspects, but you need to prioritize also what to do next and what is, which one to drop, which one to start. It's always the case, I guess, in a large industry as well, that to how to allocate the resources, what is most important, what is pressing, which challenge to tackle first. All right. Do you agree? I mean, I guess you had also other conversations and
yes, we had the big ones I've been working with. If they wanted to do EU projects, then they had a very clear goal. They had a very clear target of what they wanted to do and why they wanted to do it. I helped Johnson Matthey, hydrogen-related big company, ThyssenKrupp. These kind of organizations, they clients of P&O and regulars with a very clear target of what they were using us for and what kind of proposals / projects they wanted to enter and what they were supposed to do in them. Because it was calibrated very closely with the overall innovation strategy of the organization. So they had some clear focuses on energy efficiency, for instance, or developing technologies to be more better hydrogen production. Stuff like this, it's
advanced materials, for example. Yeah. So of course, when you know the program, and you have already that, as I said, it comes from their R&D. Maybe they have a technology that they brought it to a certain technology readiness, and then they want to advance it, and then you are looking into that particular field, or maybe 5 to 10 different fields, but they want to advance and then see which one is suitable or which one has the best potential, right? So you probably will not do all of it. And then when you're building a funding strategy, for example, then I always I like to understand the commercial part, and I like to understand the R&D and how to bridge that, because there are different funding instruments as well. You know, the funding landscape, probably you're very well aware as well, that you have experience as well on grant writing, and you know the European programs, which one is the most suitable for the specific need what the company wants to achieve. So, and this has to be implemented within the innovation strategy. I always suggest that. So when I build in a funding strategy, that it has to come with the innovation strategy, like to support the innovation strategy. For me, funding belongs to the innovation part, eventually to the commercialization of the technology or a product, or depending on what will be developed.
Now, this element we will slowly move into talking about how large industries are using EU R&D funding as a tool. But this element of as a consultant or as an employee supporting a large industry with this is extremely interesting. It's extremely interesting to understand the innovation processes, where they want to be, where they want to go, because that they are developing from a commercial point of view. There's a certain internal logic in a large industrial organization on that they built. This is why they built up the successful big company, right?
Yeah.
They have moved towards some trails with some ways of doing things, which has worked out very well. But with any organization that has a certain amount of years behind them, it's suddenly they start to realize maybe that they need more innovation, or they need some support, or they need to get to do this together with others, because there are things they cannot do themselves. And then you start to move into psychology of organizational psychology of how to work with externals, how to work with the university world, research organization vis-a-vis their commercial point of view. And how and that's the point, I guess, where you've been sitting. You've been trying to understanding where they want to go, is trying to put yourself in their shoes as a company. Why do you want to do this? Where do you want to go with this? What is the challenges with this? And then trying to calibrate that with the possibilities of going into a partnership on solving those problems.
Definitely. This is very start. The company has a problem, and you need to analyze the problem and understand, or maybe you will identify a problem. They will tell you, okay, we are too slow in here. What can we do? And then you need to analyze and see make the assessment on where do they have the bottlenecks. You identify them, then you discuss, and then you will prioritize on, okay, which bottleneck to tackle first, or do they want to tackle all of them? And then based on that, it's, as I always say, that my approach is very tailor-made to the specific problem the company is facing. There are, of course, repeatable general problems that many companies facing in general, but there are in each organization, there are other issues or other challenges that needs to be solved. And then based on the biggest pain point, you start with those, and you will define your funding strategy or innovation strategy accordingly. And then, of course, it comes to open innovation. It comes to technology scouting. Depending on what they need, you can use these tools to offer solutions or offer what can be done, and then they can, of course, discuss. So I normally call it like recommendation. That my recommendation would be this or that. To eventually enter into public-private partnership, or look for that partner, or we look for a complementary technology that would help us boost, or another commercial partner, or a bilateral collaboration with here or there, or eventually going into public funding that you can get access to that kind of technology readiness level, which is now really hot, and would be also useful to you. Or which technology is their technology that we could offer eventually in a collaboration, right? So you need to see that maybe we can move to the challenges that sometimes even for large companies, the expectation in a consortium is that you are at the advanced technology readiness, And then you can eventually either validate or implement a new technology into your setting, or you can offer something like a pilot or a demo stage of a product. And then many times, not all the large companies, or not all large companies R&D or scale up departments are that ready. And that's of course sometimes a challenge, that they are earlier stage than the expectation is. So they sometimes they are not eligible, or they are not welcome, or not well seen on a consortium where an industrial partner is expected to show some results already at the beginning of the project, and not only at the end. So I think that's also sometimes overlooked, that industrial partners, of course, are very welcome in the project, but if they want to bring a technology, as a technology provider, they still need to be like higher technology readiness already. And for that, sometimes they need some boost, or they need to wait for a couple of years until they can offer this technology to contribute to the consortium.
This is an issue that you often, but that's also with SMEs actually, with companies general, the timelines and the duration of these things. It's often an issue, because private companies just work with different timelines than EU funded projects. Alone the time to contract from you start the discussion until you win and can start, that alone can be a deal breaker. Often is in the initial phase when you are trying to attract companies to a proposal, right? But I guess this is something that you've, has been working as an internal, has maybe tried to convince or try to make them understand that this is just a different time frame. What I would normally do when I would talk to corporations, both big and small, on this, I would say, okay, you have yourself your different challenges here, and I would put them like this. So you have this thing you can solve. But I can solve that for you, or you can get, if you involve yourself in this project. But you cannot have a result before in 4 years. Does that fit with your innovation strategy? Does it work for you? Because if it doesn't work with your innovation strategy, then we need to look for something else, other challenges. Then we cannot choose this one. If you need to finish it in 1 year, then it's not good. Then
the timeline is another challenge. I mean, I didn't mean the timeline right now. I meant the technology readiness challenge, that sometimes even large industry is thinking that, we can participate because everyone wants us in a consortium, but that's not the base. It's not so straightforward, because we want in a consortium, either if you're an end user, then you can use, or if you are if you want to come on board as a technology provider, then you need to show that your technology is advanced enough to contribute to the consortium, right? Because you're not academia, so you cannot offer a technology readiness tree or a proof of concept that actually we have a proof of concept from the lab, which we as a large that we could bring in, that's not going to work, right? And then sometimes you definitely, as you mentioned, that you need to make them understand or coach them or give them really a supporting background information, or basically training on what the expectations are from a consortium, in what kind of programs will you be suitable. If you want to offer that technology, then how would that work, right? But this always comes back to the challenge on what the bottleneck is, or what is where they stand, what technology they would like to bring in or advance, and then go from there through open innovation or academical collaborations or startups or investments in funds, venture capital or corporate venture capital, for example, or M&A. There are other options, not only funding.
If we try to put down some bullets here under the R&D funding as a tool for large industries, just to try to frame it a little bit. First question: the last organization you worked for, when they hired you, were you hired specifically for this?
No.
Okay.
But that was their agenda.
But this is related to the question, because the first question here is what motivated them to get involved in EU funding in the first place. So they had realized themselves that it would be a good idea, or so, or what?
Yes. Of course,
Yeah.
of course, but you have to think also that getting funding for a Thai company is not so straightforward as a third country.
Of course.
And also,
Yeah.
if your technology is not ready enough, then it's hard to offer anything for a consortium
Yeah.
that would, for example, Pillar 2 and industry challenges or global challenges, you call it Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe, it's still Pillar 2. And for that, you need to also be eligible, right? Still, we made two programs, Horizon 2020, the last call on it's called Pyro CO2. That's led by Sintef, amazing team, because obviously we cannot coordinate, and also our Norwegian subsidiary is involved on the R&D side, right? And another one which is on polymers, right? This is a Horizon Europe program. So it's quite nice. So two large ones. They're for like 40 million each projects, and so we made it. But of course, it was a lot of effort because the team wasn't ready. When you start, many people have to be really educated about what programs are out there and what can we do. How do we match? Who will take us on board? And you need to be very responsive. So there are, of course, some unwritten rules how you get involved in a consortium and what you need to do, like a strong partnering strategy as well. So to me, like for the funding, or for innovation strategy, you need a funding strategy if you want to do funding, and that needs a strong partnering and visibility strategy and a strong R&D strategy and a commercial strategy to support. And you
did they have that?
You need to look at it. You need to look at that, and then again going for the challenges. What is challenging here is to get them top from 8,000 kilometers away.
How did you do that?
That's my superpower is really bringing the right people together and influential skills and show them.
And working off hours.
And the working long hours as well, and show them how it is done. And based on my track record of like the consortia I built or was participating in all over, it's like over 130 million funding. I think it's talks alone. So then they will also, of course, with your track record, will listen. But some of them, they will still not want to do it because, it's too complicated. There's another challenge that the process is too long or too much administration and too many details to share to convince another partner to take me on board. Or maybe I'm not as interested, because on the other hand, the other side of the motivation is that not existing, because they could actually pay for that product or for that technology, that, as you mentioned, large industrial partner, they have the money.
Yeah.
But once they understand that it's strategically important to get involved in European projects, not only the money, but strategy-wise, to create new businesses or have your partners to get access to new technologies and at the end generate sales through new product development or co-development, then it's a different story, right?
Yeah. So where did you get them for Horizon funding, or did you also look in other corners?
Also, we had Innovate UK funding for our UK from the Oxford Technology, KTP, and we looked into national funding. But for example, in Thailand, national funding is really, it's negligible, right?
Yeah.
Compared to any European funding. And we looked into a Norwegian fund, very successful, the Norwegian company, very successful, really very professional as well.
From the Research Council of the...
So a lot of Norwegian funding, but they didn't need my help on that actually, because as I said, they're very experienced. The technology is really good, and network is really good. So it's easy.
And they get a lot of help in Norway.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
The public system is quite solid around the Scandinavian countries in general. This is something that the funds are better in Norway than in Sweden and Denmark. Internal funding, they really, but I guess it's the oil money, the oil fund. They channel towards.
And
this.
Of course, when you work with partners like Norner, who are experienced and the technology is great and the people are great, then it's so much easier to get them involved in any kind of collaboration, or they can lead the collaboration, or we can even think about from scratch building a consortium or a project idea, and then run it, bring it until submission. Yeah.
So, do you know the Thai company? Are they continuing the approach of towards EU funding after you start?
I mean, that's I guess if there will be a follow-up project, they will for sure follow up on that. Last time, so of course the strategy I developed, it included already the calls that were shaping still, and they were not open on which ones, and then we screened them together. I suggested them like, look, this and this and this would be, because I involved them also into this in Aspire, and now it's called Process for Planet, public-private partnership, to in the working groups, right, to network and to see how this works, and also in open innovation platforms for technology scouting.
Okay, we need to pause here.
Yeah,
we need to pause here because it's important what you say here.
Okay.
Now, when you help and facilitate for a company, the starting point is that it's very complex, and it is. You stand outside and look at the EU funding system. It's complex, especially for private companies, because they're not motivated to stick their heads into that themselves. They run a company successfully. Suddenly, they realize it's a good idea, and then they stare at it. It's like a ant hop, right? It's a myriad of different things. So they get someone like you, or like me, like I used to be, and then you make a roadmap for them, so to say. So first you dig into so you found calls for them, you found collaboration partners, possible proposals they could join, and then you guided them to the network in Brussels.
So I haven't started this way. So first is always study the company. You study the company. The first 100 days, it's about studying the company, understanding the needs of each stakeholders, internal stakeholders, and the strategies, what they have currently. If they have at all any strategy, right? What do they need? And then also in the R&D point of view, as I said, it's very R&D intensive, research innovation, right? In the chemicals industry. So they have their own R&D centers, right? And you need to understand what is their focus currently on their R&D, and what is their goal? What are they developing right now? And based on that and the commercial strategy, as I said, you need to understand both what they want to commercialize, where are they standing, they understanding the R&D and the commercial. Then you can come up with a funding strategy or roadmap on, okay, guys, you are standing here. This is what you want to achieve. This is what is still needed. Gap analysis, situational assessment, bottlenecks, and so on. And then this is what could be a good fix. And as you mentioned, low-hanging fruit or longer term.
So after doing that, the important baseline work there to get an idea of what does it look like?
Yeah, exactly. You need to educate.
Guiding them to places where they can, I say, okay, this part of this here, there are some calls that fits with what you want to do. And the influencing side. So you guided them to the most important forum in Brussels. Yeah. Where they not only get into a network where they can continue getting into collaborative projects, but also they can have their say on what is important to get into the work.
And they can implement their own interest in there together with the other partners, which is, of course, it's a huge advantage in compared to others who can't, right?
Yeah.
And this was, of course, on the execution part. So first, when you propose the strategy, which you discuss with the Chief Innovation Officer, you share that this is, of course, you educate them on the funding schemes, what is out there, what can be done, where are we a match eventually, where do we have any chances, and then what resources will they need to allocate. Because be aware that if you're not putting it in their KPIs, that okay, you need to contribute to this proposal, because you cannot do everything as a consultant, or you can even if you are an in-house global funding lead. So develop the strategy after the learning, and within 6 weeks, a global funding strategy, including the subsidiaries in the UK and in Norner and in the other business units as well, that could fit because they are sometimes complementary, like in the packaging, for example, that where to position. And then, of course, it's a positioning strategy as well, right? Then you position them in Brussels. Of course, if they live with the opportunity or they don't, that's a different story, right? As I said, I like to call it as a recommendation, and it's not an obligation. They can decide on if this is aligned with their own personal team and business unit interest.
I guess that's also a culture thing, right? It's a nation company, other European in Europe, parts of Europe at least. There you can be a little bit more direct, I guess. But so this is, I guess, this is very important. How you have approached that with the.
You cannot oblige anyone to write me this proposal or tell me about your technology, and then you can, of course, you have to engage them in a very nice way that they keep interested, and then they see the potential or they see the strategic fit or the importance of collaborating in Europe, and then what is the outcome of it, right? So what they can get out, and then of course they need to be still negotiating their own resources with who will do what and how much do they want to allocate there.
Let's have a look at this, because this is something that you've been shaping up for them, right? For them to understand that they need to organize resources. If they want to do something, you can't just hire someone like you and then it comes in the door, right? So
still,
how long did it take you to work with the organizational issues there? Did they shape a department around you, or what did you do? Did you make sort of key persons in the different parts? What did you do?
Well, it's during COVID time and fully remotely. It's you understand the pain here.
Well, then you didn't have to go to Thailand.
Yeah, I didn't have to go to Thailand, which is of course
which is actually maybe a bit annoying.
No, I mean it's much harder than to engage them. Then why would they do that? They have their own research, they have their own commercial or marketing or whatever jobs, and then on their neck someone is coming who is who needs to do funding, and then oh my God, now I need to do funding. Oh no, like that probably that was, or the expectation was, oh, here is a person who is an expert in funding and can acquire whatever amounts, and just work with her. And then they had maybe sometimes some teams had really no experience, no education on how this works. Questioning, of course, very very questioning on so much questioning on why or what, and then you need to explain that you need to show the why, you need to show that this is a common goal, we want to go for that together. Are you in or you aren't? It's okay to say no. So it's not that you don't give the opportunity to say no, but it's very hard for Thai culture to say no, right? And it's more an indirect no, which you will need to. It took me some time to learn what is an indirect no.
That's also a challenge for you, of course.
Yes, because imagine that they are not comfortable saying no, I'm not going to do that. It's interesting.
That's, coming from a Germanic culture where you do, no, I don't want to do that.
Exactly. I'm used to that as well. I worked in German companies. I worked in Belgium. I worked in Spain. Spain is a bit less direct, but in general. But I don't like to generalize. But of course, Western cultures are much more direct. American is again a different story. And so Asia is a different story, and within Asia, Southeast Asia is again a different story. But I love that as well. That I really love the Thai. I really love to work with Chinese and Japanese. I like to work with Spaniards. I love to work with Germans and Austrian and Swiss and English, or British, and
It's not the nationality that's an issue. It's the personalities of.
Well,
so yeah.
Have you read Erin?
That's not applied to nationality.
Have you read Erin Meyer's book on the cultural map? That's a pretty cool book. I can recommend.
We have it. We received it in P&O. All the employees received it.
Okay.
So yeah.
So because it's not only personality and it's not only culture, it's a combination, and also how your personality will shape is due to your experience. So I'm pretty sure I was someone else like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, right?
Sure.
And all these experiences that you have and you gather with working with an Asian company. I explicitly wanted to work for an Asian company to experience that, right? I was very strong in Europe already, and then I said, okay, I want to go global, and I would love to understand those cultures and see them and then understand, and work with them and make them successful. So, which was a great collaboration, as you see that from the funding which we acquired, like UK funding and 2 European ones, really big ones. I think it's a really great success. But of course, it was not super straightforward when the team wasn't. It was new to them, something very new, because it is always introducing something new, It's always takes some effort and some influential skills and convincing on, oh, this is actually a good idea, and after that they even find it cool, you need to negotiate that, okay, this is what it's gonna take, and is that okay, and they can still opt out, right? So then you get to that point that if this is of course aligned with the other strategies, so this is why I'm saying that innovation strategy has to be based on the R&D and commercial strategy to support. Then it's easier to implement. And then on the execution part, of course, partnering strategy, visibility strategy, where to go, which networks to join, which areas, what scope, what discipline, where do we need new ones, which ones can we offer. So it's like a nice puzzle, several dimensions.
Tell me, how did it end up before you left? So the structure there of, did they make a department, or how many employees are sitting with these things now in that organization?
So I would have loved to make a department there, because I do believe that there is a huge need, especially if you want to do this seriously. And I would have loved to run a department for that. But that, of course, requires even more investment. And even though you acquired quite substantial funding, that was not really now the priority for the company.
Yeah, that says a little bit about, so are they still pursuing a strategy of getting funding in, or have they parked it a little bit?
I believe they are following it up, because they found it is implemented in the processes. So there are also these 3 running projects currently. So all of them are running, and but I cannot really talk about what their future will be, because I guess strategy had. For sure there will be a strategy review maybe in June right now, and then I don't know what's next. But I have to tell you that you were also asking me about how I did that and how I engage them. It's you need to understand their personal needs as well, and then a team level, and understand what science, what R&D they are doing, and then you can address them that, look, there is an opportunity, or a consortium is looking for completing the consortium with the technology provider in that area, and then I do believe your research fits. What do you think? And this is how I do it, right? And then you get to know more. Okay, but my technology is maybe more focused on this or that. I didn't want to drop really concrete, since I don't work there anymore, and I don't want to concrete.
I understand.
Drop concrete keywords, but I could.
Sure.
But I keep it confidential, right? But
sure.
Sometimes you see that, okay, it's not me, but maybe in the other business unit that person is actually could do. Or for example, many ideas were like, look, we could cover more points in the value chain, if chemicals is coming on board in this, and then packaging on that, because these are the business units, so that's very clear. Or so that I really was fostering cross BU collaborations as well, because what you develop at the packaging side, you could, or the chemical side, the packaging business unit could basically bring it further. And I always like that. I always did that in academia as well. That collecting the relevant interdisciplinary related research areas to develop this further and then offer it to a consortium as even work package leader or coordinated also several ones, but the submission wasn't done by us at the end. So I built up several in that sense as well from scratch. As one is like Nanopod, for example, which we gave away the coordination due to the fact that we were a Swiss organization, right? And then, and it's running really well, and I'm very happy for the team. I follow them how they are doing, and this was, I remember how from a very initial project idea we brought it to basically just before submission from scratch, and this is one of my babies. Let's say that proud of the team that from.
Everybody knows that feeling that has been doing this with and getting something through. It started in your brain. Yeah.
Well, it's not my brain, because I always call it that it's the scientist's brain. But I knew that idea would match this call, and then we definitely be very selective. We need to be very selective and building the consortium around it. And then first you have to influence your internal people and the internal teams on, okay, do you think it's a good idea? Would you like to proceed with that? And then you can go out and with a very convincing technology partner profile and say, look, this is our technology and we are aiming at this call. Who wants to be in? And this is what we're looking for. Like, you have to already have a clear idea on what kind of partners you're looking for and what kind of technologies do you think that would complete and would strengthen a proposal and a consortium. And you see, it was there's one example of a collaboration, how you build one from scratch, starting from an internal conversation on a project idea and monitoring the funding opportunities and knowing that, okay, this we can adjust to the way that it is a good match and build around it.
Exactly. And I think maybe because there's something here about an educational aspect. So I guess what you have been doing there, you've been giving them a training. They've been seeing how these things work. So they can actually do some of these things themselves to either take an idea and then work with that, or they know at least very well how to get involved in a consortium as partner solving a specific issue.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely this is always my idea. And then in my consultancy, I also offer these kind of services to coach and train, so that they don't have to come back to me, but they can do it themselves. So like large organizations, they have a newly set up public funding group or team. And then, that they know how to and know the instruments, and they know where to start. And then they can, of course, come back to questions, but ideally they would be self-efficient as well. Yeah. And then for the same happened in industry as well.
Yeah, because the thing is with these organizations, because they have so many resources on accounting, on legal, and so on. If they do the investment in understanding how the EU public funding part works, then it doesn't take them that long to get into, okay, that's how it works. And as soon as they got that, then the painstakingly part of getting into a new project, right? The things that you often have SMEs saying, oh, no, we stay away from that. We tried that once and it was horrible.
But once you are in, that's a good story. And, it's a success story that once you help them get involved and then they see the process with the technology profile, with the partnering calls, with the, with designing and how it works, and then also how to convince the coordinator to, okay, we can adjust our partner profile, or we can adjust our work towards that I match what you need, and listen to the coordinator and follow the coordinator's instruction, even though, it's not your idea. Then and keeping on board as well, very challenging sometimes. You need to be responsive, you need to revert, you need to provide, you need to deliver, and you need to agree, right? And so there are still other challenges, even after it looks like that you are in the consortium, how to keep on board. But once you are in and then it gets funded, then from that point, I think it is a great experience for any team. and the key persons there can help the other persons as well who are interested in funding and try to explain, look, this was good how we did, and then this is how we got successful.
I would like to share a little bit about when they are difficult to work with the big industry, right? Because you have the companies that come with an open heart and understand that it's a collaboration, that it's an effort that you do in a consortium and so on. And then you do have the occasional approach that they swing the conductor stick a little too commanding in a collaborative. I've tried that a couple of times. That because they come in with the weight and they know that it's important, that they are important in a collaborative research project, because the commission wants big industry, if they can, into these things.
They are the ones who can make the impact.
And if you have, some episodes ago, a handful of episodes ago, I was dealing with budgets, and when you have the strategic jerks, and I met a couple of strategic jerks from big organizations that use it strategically, that you don't want to see them leave. When things get tough with budget negotiations, with this and that they use that as a leverage in negotiations that but why are we might be leaving, always have this hanging a little bit as a threat. Those partners, but that's individuals. Often it's a matter of I guess where they come from. They probably has been told by management, look, you go full force our interest and you need to push them. We don't care about, you can see through these things when you've been working with this for many years. And it's, I think the message here is for listeners that are preparing proposals or looking for large industry for their projects. You should try to detect it. See if you can detect it at an early stage. What kind of attitude the representative have in the discussions of joining the proposal. What motivation they have to be there. How do they view the? For instance, if you can notice in work package discussions that they start to be dominating things and starting to push in directions that gets uncomfortable for other partners and so on. This is quite important to detect at an early stage.
I understand. So for me, as a coordinator or as a project proposal leader or developer, or I always try to align everyone. I think that's very important. Yeah. Because there are different kind of organizations, different cultures, different communication skills everywhere, and then I do believe that to keep the workflow and to keep you need to have a straightforward. I think it's very important that everyone is aligned. For transparency is very important, as what you said also, that how the company representatives are showing up in a consortium. That's you said something here. I do believe that an industrial partner needs to lead a bit, because it's important that they will be in the end the ones who are making the impact and the business out of it. So I do believe that it has to be a collaboration. It is a collaboration, so collaborative attitude is highly welcome in there, and advisory as well. So industrial partner representative definitely needs to eventually advise or discuss with the coordinators or work package leadership, or depending on where he stands or she stands, what the expectations are, and also share his expectations, right? So I don't think that is too bad if they are taking a leading role. I think it's actually quite nice.
They have to, but there are two different things, right? To take a leading role on developing something in a group, and then taking a dominating role. It's I mean, the stick, or the collaboration. there's a delicate balance there. That
Indeed, it has to be a win-win for everyone, and already like the proposal development, as you also mentioned the other day, it's frustrating, right? So it is challenges everyone's mental health sometimes, and you only want to have nice people around you who are delivering and are keeping very nice.
I think it's important to mention here, because we haven't got much recording time left. We both have to get back to our families. It's Friday afternoon. No, but what is important here to mention, proposals with tough negotiations at different kinds. It has been large research organizations with a very big, very self-confident, large research organizations, and very self-confident industry, large industry. This is where I've been having to develop my skills as a diplomat the most. as a coordinator of the proposal process, this is where I've been tested to the limit of how to take a very difficult challenge in between a conflict solving. This is, I don't know if you can recognize that.
I definitely can. And by the way, to add on that, I've done, I'm certified business mediator. It's a 2 years training, which I've done for exactly for that, to how to manage conflict between different cultures and organizations and so on. So I definitely use that toolkit and strategies to mediate sometimes between partners. But of course, sometimes there you have to part with a partner. Sometimes that happened also, during one of my coordinations, that something was like not bringing the consortium forward or the project forward. Then unfortunately you need to make the decision that okay, they are out. It's tough, but no hard feelings. But it's just simply not matching it. But it can anyway happen also even during the grant agreement part, right? That a company or a partner is dropping out, or themselves maybe just say, okay, we cannot agree on that, and then they just leave, right? That also can happen. But the conflict management part and the mediation part, I think it's very, very important that you bring it up, because there are different perspectives. You need to see different positions, and once you understand both positions and you can stay independent, then you can really help on, okay, how to bring this forward, because we need both. How will we do this in a collaborative fashion? Right?
Yeah, sometimes you just have to take position as a proposal coordinator and say, look, you're destroying the proposal. If you insist on this, there is nothing. So everybody's work over the last, gets destroyed if you keep your position like this. Or I've also been in a place where we had to very harshly force a budget reduction on a large industry because they didn't collaborate on developing the work in the work packages. They just wanted to be there for the sake of something that was important for them strategically to be involved in, but they didn't participate. And when we came to they didn't participate in developing the work. And then when we came to the budget, they wanted a high budget, didn't match what they were involved in. So they stayed in. We cut the budget down, so this is what it is. Even though it was actually a very, very large organization, but it was just like this. We cannot justify this. So
exactly, Niels. It's very simple. Stick to the data, bring in the data, and what they can carry out. They can negotiate the person months, and the budget will be accordingly to that. It's no hard feelings. It's simple as that. What can they negotiate as a bid in the proposal? And they can negotiate their also large industrial partners, right? It doesn't matter if it's large or small or whoever. I think it is what important is what can you carry out as a partner? What you're proposing to be carried out? How many person months do you need for that? And then based on each country, you have also the average cost for the per person in the per month. So very simple to set up their budget, right?
I put a question down here on how, I guess this is a question that many coordinators or proposers, they ask themselves: how on earth do I get a large industry on board? Yeah, you sit with a develop a proposal, and you know that to deal with that issue, also to answer to the code text, you need a large industry. What would your recommendation be to get a large industry on board?
Mhm.
How would you approach that, or how would you give of recommendations to listeners dealing with that?
Simple. Be very, very well prepared on what you want from them and know them very well. Make it about them. Know what their needs are, know what they are strong at, and offer, look, this is an opportunity with a very small amount of investment, like from your time. You can get involved. It's an opportunity for you to just join the consortium, right? And
Yeah.
with a little effort, solving the pain what you have, but make it about them. What is your pain? If they are, for example, because you provided that they are in general interested in collaborations, right? Because if they are like, they have a very close culture of they haven't heard about European funding and they are absolutely not interested, then it will be much more work. Basically run voice of customers with them to understand them and eventually offer that there could be a collaboration opportunity. Otherwise, if they are interested, okay, let's talk about what your needs are, what are your expectations, and once an opportunity comes along, I will let you know. And then also then you can let them know, or you say, I already have an opportunity, the project should shape to this direction, this would be the call, would you like to have a look at? Do you know, have you seen it? What do you think about that? And try to make it very easy for them to join.
Yeah,
very easy. Shortcut whatever you can.
I agree with everything you said.
Thank you.
I didn't do all of these things. I could have done better probably. I did not always have the time to dig a lot into the company, but of course I did some. But it's correct that if you make them understand that you actually know in detail what they're doing and you know where their pains might be,
yes,
then they start to raise their ears, because then you might solve a problem.
Absolutely, because otherwise, if you don't solve a problem, why would they do it? Yeah. So the pain has to be also big enough to that you raise interest for that they really want to invest that time and effort, what you mentioned before, sufficient to put there, or to write even that small text on their profile and on their work package. You need to be convincing, and for that you need to understand them very well, and it worth the time to invest in understanding them. But maybe with time also you have more network and you know already which company, but especially maybe you don't need to dig so much, or you don't need to study so much the company, because you already know enough. But for the companies that you have like rank, I want this company on board, or the first 5, this you should you list probably. In general, for one project, you list like maybe 50 that you think, okay, this could be interested or could manage, or I need this and this and these countries based on which country. And then you have maybe 5 that you say, okay, would be great to have 3 of them, which I've done as well for another project, right? Three of my favorite ones. And you know how I did it? I created different case studies for them. Okay, you're going to do that case study, and you're going to do that case study, and you're going to do that case study, and everyone
That's very nice advice.
Of course. You have to offer them the possibility to collaborate, because they want to collaborate in general. Like, the baseline is that they want to do it. What is not good for them, if they need to share development, and then they need to share IP. This is they don't want, right? So what you can offer, look guys, you focus on that particular core expertise of yours. You will make a business out of that. The other guys the same, the other one, and the third guy is the same. And then there's 3 different countries, 3 different case studies related to that. Don't want to say what exactly the was, but related to that project, which is interdisciplinary, strengthening the proposal, bringing 3 industrial partners in one proposal. Of course, it won the funding, right? It was, because it was set up in a way, plus advisory boards and so on. So if you want to involve those companies that you highlighted and like shortlisted, that these are the companies that I really want to have them on board, you study those and you make really good network with them.
And that's the apt listener out there the attentive listener, the good pupils out there will say, but that's all very fine, but how do I identify them in the first place? The ones that are easiest to approach, because of course large industry, it's a little bit like accessing the Death Star, right? Where do I enter? Where do I find the right person, the department to talk to? Now I can say from without going into detail, because that's take a while, but I think one of the most successful ways that I've used to identify which person to approach would simply be to go in to the database of Cordis, so the European Commission's own database of projects, find out which projects has been done with exactly what you want to do, look out, and there you will find the consortia, and you will also find the industry representatives there, and then often you will find names there, or you will find a project website where you will have the partners listed or representative person standing there. So with the little bit of investigation, you will identify them, and then comes the approach part, which is what Agnes just shared with you. A very good way to do things, because digging into the company, this is something that you can do, but identifying who you should approach, that can be a bitch. I've been also been doing straight out Google search, like sending to info at company name.com. Stuff like this is
the Cordis is a good hint for people who don't have a network and they don't know where to start to find the right partners. And also the B2 Match platform, I can recommend it. Many times the commission is organizing B2 Match, and you can put your profile and you can learn about who is proposing what kind of ideas or what kind of technologies or what are they looking for or which cause. Sometimes you can search in that and broaden your network on the area that you want to pursue. Other hints also, of course, use LinkedIn. LinkedIn has Horizon or whatever funding groups as well that you can post your idea. Hey, I'm looking for industrial partner for this or that. I think it's a really good tool. Use the European Enterprise Network as well for SMEs. Use academia networks if you need an academical partner. You already know the country which you are looking for, because you need to have different countries. So maybe there is one country which is underrepresented, then go for that, and look in the country what kind of technologies there are in the companies or in the academia. Research organizations, go back to your alma mater. Maybe they can lead you somewhere. Use your network. It's very important.
Yeah, and simply think when you start to look yourself around, think, where can I find companies that are dealing with research and innovation? Where would they go? Where innovation clusters, or where would they go? Where are they? What kind of information can I access to find out and identify the one? So I have, and I can say, I can refer to that because I did already some episodes in this podcast on the issue. So episode number 41 and episode number 42 was dedicated to networking. It's a double episode where we dig into how, like, brokerage events, how to do desktop research, all these things. What we just sort of summed up here. There's a little bit more detail than that, actually. 2 hours of content, especially on that. Agnes, it's Friday. Normally, I end up with the toughest challenge. We discussed it with different elements here, but what would you say is the toughest challenge working with EU funding as a large industry, as a support of them?
For the industrial partner?
Yeah, for the role you had. What was the toughest part of being internally there and trying to work with the organization toward these things? The toughest thing was it the beginning, before nothing was set up?
Yeah, so you have to build I had to build the whole thing from scratch. That's but I'm a pioneer. I love to do that. So I really love to build up new teams and agile teams and diverse teams and lead them and coach them and foster them and align them to go for a common goal. So I very much enjoy that. But the toughest challenge, I think, it is really to match their interest, really the aligning them. And then the large organization is always a big ship. So to be able to move a big ship, you need a lot of effort and find also the internal stakeholder, the decision makers who can support your vision and your strategy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just get a top down, okay, we want to do funding. So what? And what is with the rest? So it cannot be that, oh, okay, I will just delegate down the line. We want to do funding, and everyone will just get, okay, so what? And I think the toughest challenge is always to make the people believe that this is a good idea.
Yeah.
And then also that they themselves want to do and allocate, that they get motivated. We can run another call about how to motivate people and how to engage people in different cultures, Yeah. But I think it is sometimes some people like myself, I'm self-motivated. I don't need a lot to do things. But other people have other priorities, and then you need to really understand them also very well to be able to engage them. And then you also need to get allies in large organization who will support, because maybe from business you really want to do funding or from innovation, but maybe R&D is okay where they are, and then they don't see that actually this is a business potential, and then it could generate sales much earlier through funding or through collaboration than that, because sometimes they don't really care about sales, those teams, right? They just want to do their research and have fun with it. And the last 20 years I have spent translating between R&D and business, and back and forth. And on the other hand, you cannot force R&D to, you cannot really tell them that, okay, you need to be really showing them the goal. That would be great if they wanted to do that, or are they open, right? And the other issue, of course, a big challenge is when it comes to how much can we share? I don't want to share all of it. How little can I share? Actually, this is it. How little can I share to make it to the consortium and building trust? Yeah, trust building is very challenging when you work with large companies, because either the consortium partners are reluctant of trusting the large company, what's going to happen, and the large company is also very reluctant on sharing what they can offer.
Baseline when you work with especially pillar 2 collaboration projects, right? For the private companies, it's always how can I avoid sharing? You can't.
Yeah, and until when? What is the point where I cannot go any further
you
without
get as a
sharing?
consultant the NDA thrown in your face, and then it's this is something that I also need. I will also like to do an episode. I need to dig into the IPR issue, because it's something that many struggles with to work with. So that would probably be nice to have you on board there also, with a couple of people talking about that.
Well, of course. I mean, it would be nice to have a panel conversation, even, Of course, managing resources is another challenge, that you need to negotiate internally who will do what and how much resources they're going to invest from which part,
I think,
right?
If you sit as a coordinator and take companies in, one of the first things they go to ask you have how much do I need to share? And 2, how much time do I need to spend on this?
Yeah, exactly. How much effort does it take? So if you want to engage a large company, make it really easy for them to join. Know the company well and shortcut as much as you can. Write stuff for them. That's definitely, but you cannot write everything. And I try to always manage the expectations already at the very beginning, that I can be the best consultant ever. You will need to contribute some part of it, right? If they have to. And sometimes I think especially large, can have the expectations that also internally they have the expectations that I'm going to just write everything for them. And this is big. It's
how much do we need to pay to do that? Can you do that?
Or
what does it cost for you to write?
Or yes, and this is a full-time job, and it's not, But imagine also that if you are especially coordinating or building like several projects, parallel, then it's a lot of effort to keep up with the partners and the consortium.
I know
to
from
parallel.
experience, yes.
And then each of because then you are leading different internal groups with different compositions. These are agile teams, and then you need to also have each of these little agile teams, small teams, to respond and then understand what the coordinator wants or understand how this works. And then it's also quite emotion intensive, let's say.
That's why I'm not doing it anymore.
Psychologically intensive. Because there's always concerns or questions and resistance. Resistance in industry, I think it's larger than in academia, where they can allocate time to write, or they can allocate time to proposal development or to research. And in industry, that's always a shortage there in the resources on who can.
Yeah. Also, they feel uncomfortable with it because they haven't done it before.
Or they have done maybe peer-reviewed journals, but not very long time ago. Or as you said, maybe they haven't. And it's also like you have to build the writing muscle, right? But you need to feed the consultant as well with some input to be able to write for you.
Now we are about to close off, but especially the last subject here that you just mentioned about the psychological toughness of doing this as a proposal coordinator, especially if you do it as a professional, where you have several on the way to keep up with the KPIs of your company to gain the profit you need to make the company running. It's something that is at a very close to the heart of the grant. So my regulars will know that this is something that I really care about. So it's also I will need, and I would like to very much to run an episode on where we have people on board that has been where it's been very tough for anxiety, burnout, and so on, to open up that talk because it's I find it very important. I myself got 2 near burnouts with 1 year in between.
Wow.
And it took me a long time to get over it after I stopped in P&O to get back on track, and that was not even a real burnout. It's really rough. Can be really rough, and this is something that is happening every single day throughout Europe with people that sit with these things. It's just I find it important to discuss and talk about because many people feel very alone when they sit and write these things in the end to get things over the goal line. No,
tough. It's a tough business, yeah.
Which you probably know as a 2-person company that it's not always that easy.
Yeah.
But at least you're 2, so you have more.
That's exactly because I launched the company due to the fact that I have been working with clients already for a long time. Here or there. Can you help me writing this? Can you help me partner here? Can you have a look at the strategy? Can you And then I thought, okay, this is really now time to have a vehicle that I can give back to my network and to serve them, and let's go more official. And to be honest, the webpage I started to do like 2 or 3 years ago, but of course COVID came and it was not a good time, especially when I had like already several roles in the company and a global role. So I thought, okay, it's not the time, but now it was really like the time that I thought I definitely need to. It's picking up so much, and then this is also why I took a partner who is an economist, can help with the mostly on the business side of it or the financial parts to help, or maybe also if I'm too busy, also to share some work. That's very important. I think that. And it's always much nicer when you have a partner in crime.
A lot of success.
Thank you.
I'm just going to land the plane I'm just going to land the plane of this episode, my outro here, before we say goodbye to the guests. So, dear listeners, my dear listeners, I hope you enjoyed this nice episode on large industry together with Agnes Zoller. As you all know, if you're regulars, new listeners, I have a website where you find my whole back catalog. I have reached more than 60 episodes now, and you can find there's a lot of content also within the area that we've been talking about here of developing proposals. There's a whole timeline series from first idea until you submit, broken down into 22 episodes. You have lots of guests where you will find valuable input on SMEs or clusters. So dig into my website. It's thegrant.eu. There you will also find a nice subscription
Button.
what do you say, plug in at the bottom for the email list. So please, I'm a startup podcast, and this is what counts in the podcast world. Follow us and email list subscriptions. So that's what I'm building up slowly. And I just passed my number 100 subscriber, and I have very few unsubscribers actually. Only 2 or 3 over a year that has unsubscribed. So I must be doing something right. And then don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn, because that's where the flow is. That's my communication channel. That's where I send out the episodes and share with the community. But it's also where I pick up guests like Agnes. It's where I exchange. It's where I share my views on things and so on. So by all means, Niels Turuvinter, find me in there. If you find me here, you'll also find me in LinkedIn. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I always tend to forget something, but it's that's it. Agnes, thank you so much for dropping by, and have a lovely weekend.
Thank you so much, Niels, for the kind invitation, and then I hope it was useful for everyone who is listening.
We'll stay in touch. I will put a hook on you, so we will definitely do other episodes on. I noted down on motivation and IPR, and maybe also on proposal anxiety. We'll see about that.
Yeah, especially you mentioned the Christmas, under the Christmas tree, writing proposals and and the deadlines for submitting in the middle of summer or end of summer, and then using that time to write, right?
Yeah, indeed. Thanks for dropping by.
Thank you so much. Wish you also a lovely evening.
Thanks. Bye to you all out there. Bye.
Bye.